Hello, today we're going to talk about decimals. When you think of decimal, think of 10 or tenth. Decim is Latin for 10. Any number can be expressed in decimal form. The simplest trivial case is an integer. An integer is technically a decimal to 0 decimal places, but you would never express it as such. We write numbers to a certain number of decimal places. Example 3.14, 2.78, 1.07, 1.175. The first three numbers are written to 2 decimal places because they have 2 digits after the decimal point, and the last one is 3 decimal places. In different practical situations, we will use the number of decimal places we require to achieve the accuracy we want. Example 1. Write 7 in decimal form to 2 decimal places. The answer is 7.00. We only add 2 zeros because the question says write it to 2 decimal places. If it said 3 decimal places, we would have 3 zeros, 7.000. You can have as many zeros as you like, but we only require 2. Example 2. Write the number pi to 4 decimal places. Well, if you want to grab your calculator or your computer and ask what pi is, then it should spit out something like that, depending on the memory of your device. So pi is 3.1415926535897, and we want to round that to 4 decimal places. So that means we need 4 numbers after the decimal point. Now the decimal point comes after the number 3. So pi is equal to 3.1416 to 4 decimal places. So why is it 6 and not 5? Well, we have to be careful that we round off correctly. If the digit is 0 to 4, we ignore it. If it's 5 to 9, we have to round up the previous digit by 1. So we add 1 to the previous digit. Now in this case we have 3.14159, and since 9 is bigger than 5, we have to round up to 3.1416. If it was 3.14154, we would just ignore the 4 as 4 is less than 5, and the answer would be 3.1415. Now decimals are connected to fractions. We can write any fraction in a decimal form to the number of places we require. Example 1/10 in decimal form. Before we answer this, let's look at the mechanics of decimals and how they're constructed. Take a decimal example 7.123. This is made up of 7 units, that's the number before the decimal point, 1/10, that's the number just after the decimal point, 2 hundredths, that's the number 2 away from the decimal point to the right, and 3 thousandths, that's 3 places after the decimal point. This is equivalent to saying 7.123 is equal to 7 units plus 1/10 plus 2 hundredths plus 3 thousandths. In fractional form, this becomes 7.123 equals 7 over 1. The 1 on the denominator denotes units, plus 1 over 10. The 10 on the denominator denotes tenths, plus 2 over 100. Again, that denotes hundredths on the denominator, and 3 over 1,000, which is equivalent to 3 thousandths. In decimal form, this is equivalent to 7.123 equals 7, because 7 over 1 is just 7. Any number divided by 1 is just the number. Plus 0.1 plus 0.02 plus 0.003. If we write vertically, we have 7, 0.1, 0.02, 0.003. Now add each column from top to bottom. 7 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, that's 7. 1 plus 0 plus 0 is 1. 2 plus 0 is 2, and 3 is 3. And the numbers highlighted in green are 7, 1, 2, 3. Then, not forgetting the decimal point, it goes after the 7. So we have 7.123. So in other words, converting each fractional component to its decimal form gives us 7 over 1 is 7, 1 over 10 is 0.1, 2 over 100 is 0.02, 3 over 1,000 is 0.003. So we can now answer our question, which was what is 1/10 in decimal form? And the answer is 0.1. And now we know this, we can use this as a basis to compute any fraction to a decimal. Example, write 3/10 as a decimal. Well, 3/10 is 3 times 1/10. That's by the rules of fractions when you multiply fractions. And that's 3 times 0.1, which we've just discovered in the previous example, and that's 0.3. Some consequences and observations. So when we divide a number by 10, the decimal point moves one place to the left. And when we multiply a number by 10, the decimal point moves one place to the right. Example 1. 0.254 times 10 is equal to 2.54. The decimal point has moved one place to the right. Example 2. 7.364 divided by 10 equals 0.7364. The decimal point has moved one place to the left. A trickery example. Write 3/4 as a decimal. Well, we know it's less than 1 because it's a proper fraction. If you watch my video on fractions, you'll know what a proper fraction is. So when the numerator, the number at the top, is less than the number at the bottom, 3 is less than 4, then it's a proper fraction, and it's going to be less than 1. So the answer will be somewhere between 0 and 1, and it's clearly bigger than 0. Well, we can see that 3/4 is equal to 3 times 1/4 by the rules of fractions. So let's find 1/4 and multiply by 3 to get our answer. Now, what's 1 in decimal form? Well, an integer n in decimal form is simply n plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus. We can go on forever. We can add as many zeros as we like. So if you break it down into the individual components, n equals n plus 0/10 plus 0/100 plus 0/1000 plus 0 over 10 to the power of x, where x is any integer from 1 to infinity. So technically we're adding on 0/10, 0/100, 0/1000, etc. We're adding on 0, 0, 0. We're adding on 0. But we need to do that so that we can understand it to write it in decimal form. So in decimal form, that equals n.000 and as many zeros as we need. And notice the decimal point is after n and before all the zeros. So 1 in decimal form is 1.000000. We can add as many zeros as we want. It makes no difference. So we want 1/4 in decimal form. So 1 is equal to 1.000. And now we do a little trick. We want to make the denominator a power of 10. 1 over 4 is equal to 1 times 10 over 4 divided by 4 times 10 over 4. Just multiply top and bottom by 10 over 4. And that equals 10 over 4 divided by 10. And 10 over 4 is 2.5, so that equals 2.5 over 10. And when we divide a number by 10, we move the decimal place 1 point to the left, so 2.5 becomes 0.25 after we move it 1 place to the left. Note, 10 over 4, if we divide top and bottom by 2, we get 10 over 2 divided by 4 over 2, and that's equal to 5 over 2. If we multiply top and bottom by 5, we get 5 times 5 over 2 times 5, and that equals 25 over 10. So 10 over 4 equals 25 over 10, which equals 2.5. Because if we start with 25, we have 25.0000. Move the decimal point 1 place to the left, we get 2.50000. The zeros don't matter. So 3/4 in decimal form is equal to 3 times 0.25, which is equal to 0.75. Links to percentages. Percentages can also be expressed as decimals. A percentage p% is a number p divided by 100. So if I give you 50%, that's just 50 divided by 100, which is a half. So in decimal form, p% equals p over 100, which equals p times 1 over 100, which equals p times 0.01. Example 1. 60% equals 60 over 100 equals 6 over 10 equals 0.6, because it's 6.00 divided by 10, move the point 1 to the left, 0.60000, get rid of all the zeros, they're not important, 0.6. Similarly, 17.5% is 17.5 over 100, which is 175 over 1,000. Now we just cleared the decimal point there, multiplied top and bottom by 10. So if we start with 175, 175 in decimal form is 175.0000. All the zeros all to infinity. Divide that by 1,000, you move the point 3 places to the left, you get 0.175. Now just a little trick. If we're dividing by, say, 10 or 100 or 1,000 or whatever, if we count the number of zeros in that number, so for 10 it's 1 0, for 100 it's 2 zeros, for 1,000 it's 3 zeros. So the number of zeros is the number of places that we need to move the decimal point. In this case to the left, obviously. So when you divide by 1,000, there's 3 zeros in 1,000, so you need to move the decimal point 3 places to the left. So that concludes the video, guys. Have fun with decimals. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.